UFC Rock Bottom Picks Fight Night Tsarukyan versus Hooker takes place this Saturday at an early start time of 9 a.m. This card is an absolute banger following UFC 322 Makhachev versus JDM. And we're getting some lightweight movement and some more welterweight movement with Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker, obviously, and Muhammad versus Machado Gary, and then some other bangers. So let's just lock in. Starting with the first fight of the card, which is Merrick Bahilo versus Denzel Freeman. We're in Qatar, by the way, so all of these names are going to be butchered horrendously. But Denzel Freeman lost to a PFL guy, and that's not a good look. So I'm going to go with Merrick Bulio. That's some great logic there. So gamble on this fight for sure. Merrick Bulio by whatever he wants. I don't really care. We move on. Nicholas Dalby versus Sagid Isaac Ahmedmayev. Dalby just got slept bad by Randy Brown, coming back way too fast. Let's check how fast he's coming back. April. That's not too soon, I guess. But yeah, I got slept really bad. Was caught coming in. I had that reaction on video. I'll play it now. But Sagid, what the fuck is that last name? Is 22-2, good record, minus 330 favorite. He's only lost to two guys that have decent records. On the come up, he's fought pretty good guys, but they didn't really start getting serious matchmaking with him until like around he lost to this guy, because these guys all have like debuting records. Like, let's just pick a random one, for example, like, yeah, 0-2. Competition's just not there. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Sagid Isaac Akhmedov, and I think that Dalby just doesn't have much left in the tank in his career. And we move on to the Tajik versus the fucking Scousa. Nurulio Aliyev versus Shamrock. Undefeated guy from Eastern Europe. He's going to stink it up. Grapple fuck him. I'm going to go with the Tajik by a decision. We move on to the next fight. Ismail Nurdiev versus Ryan Loder. Now, Ryan Loder is okay. He's a wrestler, Division I from Northern Iowa State, I believe, All-American maybe. And Ismail Nurdiev looked okay in his debut against Bruno Silva, but that guy's washed. I mean, losing to Weidman. And then he just got beat by, who did he just lose to? To Jinyon Park, who's pretty good. Jinyon Park, the Iron Turtle, really hard to finish. This is a pick'em fight. I think Loder is lost on the feet. I don't think he has that like kind of violence in him, man. It's like crazy. He just goes out there and kind of looks like a bitch on the feet until he gets the takedown and scrambles good. And there's kind of a cardio issue here, so this is, I think, good odds here on Ismail Nurdiev, and I'm going to take him by another decision. I think that this card is going to start off kind of weak, but we move on. I could be wrong though. This is a good fight. Beksat Almakhan versus Alexandre Pantoja. Alexandre Topuria. Pantoja's fighting in the next pay-per-view. But this is Ilya's brother versus the guy that dropped Umar Nurmagomedov. And I'm going to go with Beksat Almakhan. I don't think Topuria is as good as his brother. It's kind of hard to live up to that for sure. But Topuria's good. I just think Beksat's just a bit better. You know, he kind of got held down in the feet. He kind of got held down on the ground by Umar. Had a moment in round one, but other than that, didn't show too much. And then he's had one more fight since then against Brad Katona, and he finished that really quick. And Brad Katona, Ultimate Fighter guy, that's a good win, and I think Beksat's going to get this done. And I think this is another decision. The heavyweight fight might be a finish, but these daggies, man, I really can't see anything besides a cuddle fest. And then we move on to the next fight. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Kyuji Horiguchi. Now, Horiguchi is I've heard this name before. Where's Horiguchi from? Ryzen. This is a Ryzen guy. Oh, look at this. And he's on a crazy win streak right now. How old is he? He's 35. He's lost to Patchy Mix. Oh, okay. I've seen what I need to see. Tagir Ulanbekov by whatever he wants. We move on. Abdul Rahman Yakhyev versus Rafael Kirkera. I'm going to go with the undefeated guy. I've never really heard of Rafael Kirkera. Let's see the record here. Yeah, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Yeah, get this guy out the UFC. He's a bum. We move on. Bogdangrad versus Luke Riley. Bogdangrad looked good in his last fight. Pulled off an upset against, I want to say, this is featherweight. He just beat, we're checking, Muhammad Naimov, that's a great win. Naimov, the cheater, beat Wood. Bogdangrad, he's got a goofy style. This guy thinks he's One Punch Man for sure. But he's fighting Luke Riley. I think this is the guy on the Contender Series, right? That just, no, this is another Cage Warrior guys. There's a lot of UK guys on this card. There's that Liverpool guy from earlier. This guy is on a crazy win streak. Let's check these records. 0-2, okay. Okay, 0-1. Let's check this guy. 17-13, this guy's okay. Han de Jesus. Oh my gosh. I'm going to go with Bogdangrad. I think the underdog wins this one, actually. I don't like this record from Luke Riley. Those are bums that I just looked at. And from what it looked like, he's not even finishing them, too. Oh, TKO, decision. Oh, he's got 8 finishes, so he does get a lot of finishes. I don't know. I'm going to go with Bogdangrad, though. I think he's got this. I think he does. But we move on to the main card. Asua Almabaya versus Alex Perez. Alex Perez just lost to Tatsuro Taira, blew out his whole ACL, MCL, everything. Probably should be done. And Almabaya got 2-piece IPO comboed by base Manel Kopp. And I just think Almabayev is going to hold Perez down this whole fight. I think Perez is an alright wrestler, but Almabayev he's so willing to stink up any fight. No violence. This guy's never going to get a knockout in his whole career. They ruined the sport. You're going to hate watching this one. I said this fight card was good, but I've only picked fights by decision so far. So maybe I'm going to eat my words about this. I really hope this card over-delivers, and there's a ton of finishes, but there's so many Dagestani brother styles on this one. But Perez just blew out his knee. He's getting up there in age for flyweight, 33, 31. These guys both are, they're not as old as I thought Perez would be because he's been in the UFC for a while. You know, he's lost to Royval, Pantoja. I don't even know why he's still fighting. Let's be real, 25-9. This guy's a vet. I'm going to go with Almabayev, boring 3-round decision. And we move on to the people's main event. For the Blob heavyweight title, we got Shamil the Meal Deal Gaziev versus Sergey Spivak. He's a great fight. And I think Shamil's going to get him here. I think Shamil's going to crafty his way to a second round knockout or something. I feel like the kind of sambo judo style or whatever Sergey kind of goes for. He only gets his takedowns from the clinch, I think. And I think Shamil should be hip to that. He's not a Dagestani wrestler, though. That's why I'm picking Shamil. I think he's going to get a big, meaty hook knockout here. But I think he's learned enough throughout the years. I mean, he had that Roasted Strike fight where he lost due to heart failure and obesity. But, yeah, this is heavyweight. There are genuinely no excuses for being this 260 pounds, man. Lean down. Lean down. Why can't they lean down? They would be so much better if they just leaned down. Chris Barnett, too. These heavyweights, man, just go on a fucking diet. But I'm going to go with Shamil Gaziev. I don't know why I'm shitting on him now, but the meal deal is going to get it done. Known Marauder. People forget, man. I'm going to go with Shamil Gaziev. Now this is a real fight. This whole card is carried by the main card. I'm just going to say that now. This is the most random fight ever. Jack Hermanson, former middleweight here. You can see the weight class, 185, fighting the lightweight 155-pound former fighter of Mitebek Orabai, who just fought at catchweight. This is an interesting fight, and Jack's been in there with some killers. Orabai's got some sneaky power, some good striking too. Had that war with Mateusz Rebecki. That's a lot of damage though. Beat Elvis Brenner. Jack Hermanson wrestled Chimaev and he did okay. He fraud checked Pfeiffer. That's crazy. That Jack Hermanson, like 3 fights ago, was fighting Joe Pfeiffer, who's 6'3", 200 plus pounds, huge power puncher, has like the punch power record of the UFC. It's crazy that he's now in the same weight class, 170, as Mitebek Orabai, a guy who's fighting people 5'10" and under. Rebecki was he's dead actually on this day, November 18th. But Mateusz Rebecki, 5'8". In what world does Lighterman's skill get diminished here by this is a tricky fight. I see Orabai doing surprisingly good on the feet, but the strength and the experience is just too much for Jack Hermanson, and I could see Jack pulling off a 29-28 split decision, but I do think this is kind of going to be an interesting fight, and this gives me like Robbie Lawler and Cerrone vibes, if you know, crazy reference, like a weird good fight that is pointless. Like, let's be real, this fight is pointless. What does this do for any division? Hermansson was a ranked middleweight, a 185 pounder. Oroblai's an unranked 55er. This fight is just so random. This isn't even short notice for anybody. The management is in question here for sure. I'm going to go with Hermansson. I think he's just too big and too strong. Lighter man skill gets diminished when it's 2 weight classes. Prove me wrong. I think this is going to be an example of that. So, Jack Hermansson wins this one. We move on to the 205-pound division. Alonzo Menenfield, pictures, versus Volkan Ozdemir. And the odds, man, are crazy. Volkan is chinny. I think Volkan is really chinny here. And I could see a world where Jamal Hill, oh my gosh. I could see a world where Alonzo Menenfield here just kind of gets pieced up. Actually, I don't. I think Volkan's too technical for Ozdemir. Alonzo has Down syndrome. He ran out full sprint against Olberg and just got pieced up. And now he's coming back. Where's your mindset at here? Has Ozdemir fought since knocking out Walker? I don't know. Who did he lose to? No, he just lost to Carlos Olberg, and before that he beat that Olberg fight. I mean, he's taken Olberg to a decision. Alonzo got knocked out in less time than you can make instant top ramen noodle meal. So I'm going to go with Volkan Ozdemir here. I think this is a no-brainer, and I think he's going to do a good job of keeping Alonzo on the outside, even though Alonzo has weirdly long arms. I do think that Alonzo has the puncher's chance here way more than Volkan Ozdemir, because we've seen Volkan go out so many times. But Volkan's got power too, and Alonzo's been finished too by Owen St. Preux, who's fucking geriatric. I can't believe he lost that. The odds are crazy, though. There's money on Menenfield here. There is decent money. This is a hard fight to predict, but I think Volkan's going to get it done. And I think he finishes Menenfield late. Volkan Ozdemir. We move on to the co-main event. Top 6 ranked welterweight matchup right after the title fight. This is so perfect. I think the winner of this fights Shavkat, and then whoever wins that fights for the belt. And then the contender after that is the fighter of Prates versus Morales, who I matched up in the last video. But anyways, we get into the breakdown here. Machado Gary, he just beat Prates even though he got dogged on in the 5th. And Bilal Muhammad just forgot that he had wrestling, even though he remembers the name. That was a bad joke. Bilal Muhammad just came off the loss to JDM where he just never grappled, thought that he was him, and just was like, I'm going to strike him. Yeah, I'm going to beat him in the striking and not the grappling. But Bilal, he risked the boring allegations to go out there and scrap, and I think that we're going to see the welterweight curse go again here with the welterweight champs going on losing streaks every time that they lose, because, man, Gary fights like an Arnold Allen of 170, always moving side to side, and I could just be being way too athletic, big, and Ian is really good on the ground. He's like a frequent Brazilian, he's always in Brazil training. I think people are sleeping on Ian Gary's. Now, don't get me wrong, the dude's a cuck and gay. I don't like him. And he's annoying to listen to, but I think he's really fucking good. I mean, you don't beat Carlos Prates for no reason. He's a 250 favorite over Bilal Muhammad, which is wild because not long ago people were like, how long is Bilal going to be champ? I think Ian Gary is going to win this fight, and I think he's going to shut down Bilal all 3 rounds of this fight. Ian Gary. Picking a lot of decisions here. I don't have any faith in finishes after the last 2 fights of the last card from these Dagestani guys. There's just so many of them. Anyways, we move on to the main event. Fuck! Who's Dan Hooker's manager? Arman Tsarukyan's going to win this, and he's a minus 500 favorite for a reason. Dan Hooker, man. I picked him against Gamrot. That was one of my biggest underdogs last year. Dan Hooker, what are we doing, man? We should have fought Gaethje. Any other matchup than this. I think this is going to be similar to the Dan Hooker Makachev fight where Tsarukyan just goes out there, takes him down, and I think Tsarukyan has way better ground and pound than Islam. I mean, he's not throwing fucking 0 strikes in the 5th round. Fuck's sakes. Anyways, I do see Dan Hooker not getting finished early. I think this is going to be like the Joel Alvarez fight, where Alvarez, every time it's on the feet, it's like, oh, hold on now. Hooker's, because, Hooker fights on a straight line a lot of the time. He likes his knees. He also really likes the calf kicks, which I think could get him taken down here by Tsarukyan. And Tsarukyan's good on the feet, too. He's got some pop. Man, even that Gamrot, I picked Dan Hooker to beat Gamrot. I did. Rewatched that fight with no commentary. It's really close. Dan Hooker, I gave it to him, but it's really close. And Tsarukyan, I don't know where the fuck he's been. He hasn't fought since UFC 300. Just a sign that your bitch made. This guy has way too much money. Pay fighters less. But I think he's just so good, and I want to see Tsarukyan fight Topuria on in January after this, and then I want to see Topuria versus the winner of that fight in January. So Topuria versus Tsarukyan fight Makhachev at 55 if he comes back. I don't want to see any more moving up weight classes for Makhachev because that's all he fights. He never really fights a 55 pounder unless if it's Moicano on short notice or Poirier with the false hip. But then he fucking beats JDM. The world makes no sense. Anyways, man, Tsarukyan, I think this is going to be a better card. Let me go back over it. I think this is going to be a finish. I think Gary gets a decision just because he's boring. I think Ozdemir gets a finish. I think Orablai is just too Neanderthalic to get finished, so I think Hermansson's going to get a decision. I think Gaziev is going to get a decision. I think Almabayev is going to get a decision. Bogdangrad is going to get a decision. Yeah, the only ones that I really have hope for are these two right here, and then this heavyweight fight to get a finish. But that doesn't mean the card's going to be boring. Early start for those not in the fucking Middle East. They're in Qatar. But yeah, I'm RockBottomPicks, and we can only go up from here.